Monica recently posted on Instagram that she and Kim Kardashian are working together to help free her ex-boyfriend, rapper Corey Miller, also known as cmurder. Corey Miller is the brother of Master P and is best known for his platinum-selling album, Life or Death. He is currently serving a life sentence for the killing of Steve Thomas, who was a 16-year-old fan. Steve was a huge fan of Corey's ever since he came on the scene as an up-and-coming rapper. Steve was born in New Orleans and looked up to both Corey and Master P as they were from his hometown. Like most teenagers back then, he had posters of his favourite rappers up on his bedroom walls. As well as rap music, Steve loved baseball and played Little League Baseball. He was also an active member of his church, volunteering as a youth leader. He had 2 brothers and a sister. On the night of January the 18th, 2002, Steve was excited to hear that his favourite rapper, cmurder, would be performing at a nearby club, the Platinum Club in Harvey, Louisiana. Being only 16, there was no way he would be allowed into the club, so he came up with a plan. He borrowed the ID of an older friend, in the hopes that he would get past security. It's not out of the ordinary for underage teens to obtain fake IDs or other means to pass for 18 or 21, depending where you live. And many of us have at some point misled our parents to go somewhere they would not approve of. He told his parents he was going to a movie that night. Then, not long after entering the club, tragedy struck. There's not a lot of detail about what actually happened and why Steve was targeted. It's believed he approached Corey as a fan, but it was taken the wrong way and seen as an invasion upon Corey's personal space, allegedly. But court documents describe what one police officer saw when he arrived on the scene shortly after the 911 call. Deputy Brian Singleton received a call saying shots were fired inside the Platinum Club. When he arrived, there was a large crowd of about 75 to 150 people screaming and fleeing the scene in chaos. He made his way through the crowd and spotted the victim lying on his back with a single gunshot wound to the chest. Sadly, he was unable to communicate. Medical assistance was requested and the club was put on lockdown, and the officer began to ask for witnesses. The incident was believed to have happened at 1:30 a.m. The second witness was a security guy called Darnell, who was working that night. He said a fight broke out between the pool table and the dance floor. He saw 15 to 20 people beating someone up, believed to be Steve. He was trying to defend himself, just trying to take cover. He was getting kicked and punched. The security guy said he tried to break up the fight and grabbed Corey, telling him to chill out. Corey responded, "Alright," but still tried to make his way back through. Soon after, one gunshot was heard. He said he personally didn't see Corey beat or kick Steve, but believed he was trying to get back to the fight. Then the most damaging part of his testimony. Darnell testified that he was about 1 yard away when he saw Corey reach his hand into the group of people. He saw the gun flash from the end of his arm. He admits he never saw Corey with a gun, but assumed whatever flashed was in his hand. He saw Corey and a group of people run from the club after the shooting. Darnell is the one who called 911. He didn't identify Corey as the shooter when he made the call, but he later told a detective who he said he trusted. He admitted denying knowledge of the shooter during the investigation because of fear for his safety. Next, we have another witness named Denise. She named a completely different person as the shooter, not Corey. The detective she told didn't believe her though. She later said she lied and was not arrested for lying because it is believed she did so out of concern for her safety. Meanwhile, Darnell identified Corey in a lineup and an arrest warrant was issued. Corey was questioned by police and denied having anything to do with the killing of Steve Thomas. He admitted being at the club, but insisted that at the time of the incident, he was talking to the DJ. He told one of the detectives that he heard the gunshot and immediately got pushed out as people fled. The detective who spoke to Corey testified that he believed Corey was trying to find out who the witnesses were and was demanding to know who identified him. Of course, anyone would want to know who was accusing them or implicating them in such a crime. Another witness named Kenneth said that neither Corey nor his entourage were required to go through a metal detector when entering the club, but other people were required to do so, and they were checked by security. He said Corey took part in a rap contest that night and exited the stage when he had finished. Kenneth saw someone wearing a hoodie, believed to be affiliated with a local gang, go up to Steve and attack him. Then 6 or 7 people joined in. He said he saw him fighting for his life. Kenneth stated that Corey did not throw any punches but watched the fight. Then he said Corey stood over the victim and shot him. He was about 6 feet away from Corey at the time. Kenneth then ran out of the club. It wasn't until a year or so later that Kenneth came forward to identify Corey. Sadly, he was going through the tragedy of losing a child himself. It came to light that he was at the Platinum Club. He was then interviewed and identified Corey as a shooter. He said he only decided to come forward because he understood what it was like to lose a child. Of course, the DJ, who Corey said he was talking to at the time of the shooting, was called upon as a witness. His name is Kirk. He knew Corey and had met him a couple of times before, but he denied actually speaking to him that night. He said at no time during the night did Corey come to the booth. He heard the disturbance and turned on the lights. Then he heard the shots. Another witness said the lights were not turned on until after the shot was fired, and that she didn't see Corey fighting. She didn't believe he was the gunman either, but she didn't see who fired the shot. Corey's legal team presented the testimony of someone called Vance. He said as Corey is tall and a celebrity, he was hard to miss. He didn't recognize the people fighting, but knew that Corey was not amongst them. Vance said he heard when the gunshot was fired, but did not see who fired it. After the shot was fired, people rushed out of the club, but he was not able to get out. Vance testified that although he didn't see the gunman, he was sure the defendant was not the shooter. There were other witnesses presented. Some of them said nothing at the time because they were scared, but came forward later. One woman, Vanessa, said she was actually talking to Corey at the time of the fight. She testified that Steve got into a fight with a group a couple of feet away from her. When the fight started, she backed up and Corey was right behind her. He grabbed her by her waist to move her to the side, and that is when the shot went off. According to Vanessa, Corey was not involved in the fight, but his entourage were, and they were also yelling about a gang. After the shot was fired, she said Corey ran out of the club. She tried to leave too, but was stopped by security. Another person, Hassim, testified that Corey was inside the DJ booth and that the DJ announced Corey and spoke about his album. He said he saw Corey dancing with a woman and assumed that that's what the fight was about. He didn't see the shooter's face, but he saw his profile and said he was 100% sure it was not Corey. This case had issues from the very beginning. A mistrial was declared because background checks on witnesses were not submitted. It took over 6 years for a new trial. All the while, Corey was on house arrest and in and out of jail. He was eventually granted permission to work on his music at the time, but had to comply to a strict curfew. Can you imagine what the family of Steve Thomas must have been going through too? Kept in limbo while seeking justice for the senseless killing of their loved one. During the trial, prosecutors accused Corey and his crew of witness tampering. The jury understandably struggled to reach a verdict and were deadlocked. Despite this, the judge insisted they come to a verdict and told them to deliberate some more. After another 3 hours, they reached a 10-2 majority of guilty. They were told to continue deliberating just in case the person who changed their mind was pressured to speed things up. They came back with the same result. After the verdict, Steve's dad said it was not a time to rejoice and that he felt for Corey's family, but at least They still got to see their son, he said. Under US law, there must be a unanimous verdict in order to convict a defendant. However, Louisiana and Oregon were the only two states that still allowed majority verdicts. In April this year, 2020, the Supreme Court banned non-unanimous jury verdicts in cases involving serious crimes. This decision will affect defendants and prisoners in Louisiana and Oregon. Louisiana has since amended its state constitution to bar non-unanimous verdicts, but it applies only to crimes committed after 2018. But many of the justices argued that the majority verdict rule is racist in nature and adversely affects black defendants. Justice Gorsuch wrote, "Courts in both Louisiana and Oregon have frankly acknowledged that race was a motivating factor in the adoption of their states' respective non-unanimity rules." Corey's conviction was upheld in 2011 and his appeals were denied multiple times. Corey, now 49, has always maintained his innocence, and his family have tirelessly campaigned for his release for decades now. They have filed numerous appeals, even as recent as last year. On Instagram, Monica wrote, "At cmurder and I, bonded by truth, honesty and loyalty. There's never been a promise broken, and I vowed to seek help. After a tearful conversation with Lala, she and I spoke to Kim Kardashian, and I explained why I knew Corey was innocent. I shared that there were lots of issues in Corey's case that speak to his innocence, including witnesses recanting their testimonies, DNA not matching, and a 10-2 jury. Corey deserves to come home to his girls and be the father they need, be the artist and leader he's always been, as well as spread hope to those who have also experienced this." Kim has been very active in prison reform in recent years and has helped to see the release of up to 17 non-violent offenders. In Corey's case, she believes he was not given a fair trial. There were issues with the jury and problems with them reaching a majority initially. Some even claimed they were pressured to vote for a guilty verdict by other jury members. 2 key witnesses recanted their statements, as Monica said. Remember Darnell, the bouncer, who said he told Corey to chill, and Kenneth, who said he saw Corey standing over the victim? Both came forward to say they had lied. They claimed police pressured them to identify Corey as the killer. Corey's team requested a retrial or to have his conviction quashed, but it was denied.
In music is not a crime, and naming yourself is not some crime. Evidence shows that he is innocent.
What do you think about the Free Corey Miller campaign? Can you see why many believe he did not have a fair trial? Or do you believe there was enough evidence to convict him in the first place? Thanks for watching. Share your thoughts below, like and subscribe for weekly videos, and don't forget to press the bell for more.